Fatinikun and I am the founder of Black Girls Hike. At the moment, I'm currently sat in my bedroom. I live in Greater Manchester. I've just had a little wren move into my birdhouse, so I'm on bird watch at the moment because it's gone out and it's not been back for a while. And then after my podcast, I think I'm going to have a nice leisurely day. I'm going to take myself out for breakfast and then just do some admin this afternoon because admin seems like something that is never ending at the moment.
Have you always grown up in Greater Manchester?
Yeah, so I've always been from Greater Manchester, but I've lived in kind of like Lancashire as well. So I lived in Greater Manchester till I was 8, and then I moved to Lancashire and lived in Lancashire until I was 19. Basically, until I was old enough to move away for uni, I had to live in Lancashire. And then as soon as I was old enough, I moved to Nottingham. I went to uni in Nottingham for a year, and then I went to Birmingham for a year as well. And then after I finished, I moved back into central Manchester then because I didn't like living on the outskirts anymore.
What were you studying at uni?
So I did sociology and cultural studies for a year, and then I did PR and management, and then I quit both of those, and then I didn't study for like another 8 years, and then I started open uni about 5 years ago, and then I was doing international studies. So I don't know why I decided that I would do so many degrees. I just, you just feel like you need one. And I don't even know who was pressuring me to do it. But I was just kind of like in the prison of uni.
Yeah. And also, I think it's sometimes difficult when you don't know necessarily what it is that you want to do. And then if your friends are going to university, you think, oh, maybe I should go to university. How's the Open University been?
So with the Open University, I kind of felt like I was just punishing myself because it's really difficult to stay on track with things because you have to be really disciplined with it all. So basically what I felt like I was doing was I wasn't doing any of the reading or the studying. And then at the end of every month, I was just writing up an essay and I didn't even know what I'd written. I don't feel like I was actually learning anything. But it is good for people that kind of, for example, like where you need to be flexible and stuff because you can do it. It is all online. So it does work for some people, but it just didn't work for me. And I just kind of felt like, why am I pressuring myself to be at uni still? And I absolutely hated it. But then I felt like I couldn't quit again. And also as well, one of the things that I was really struggling with was because I'd picked like 3 different degrees, like I was really into like international development. But then as I was like studying, I just kind of felt like, where is this actually taking me? Like I didn't feel like I was actually learning anything. And I just felt like by the time it came to the end of it, I wouldn't actually have any skills that were even transferable.
Yeah. Did you have an idea of what you wanted to do when you I always like to say when you were older?
I always felt like I wanted to work in international development. So I always felt like I wanted to kind of like build communities in underdeveloped places, give people a bit of agency, help build infrastructure. But I kind of not necessarily, it was not a case that I went off that, but it wasn't where my interests lie at the moment.
So going back to your childhood, were you sporty? Were you outdoorsy? How much did the sports and sort of nature play a part in your life?
Oh, so when I was younger, I was in like every sports team. So I wouldn't really call myself outdoorsy, but I used to do like netball, rounders, cross country, athletics. I used to play hockey, I used to do javelin, discus. In fact, I had the javelin record at my school for like 3 years. So I used to love running. I was like really, really into running when I was younger and netball and rounders as well. In fact, I've just started playing rounders again because I bought a rounders kit off Amazon. So I've been taking it everywhere when I'm going to meet my friends and it's just so much fun.
Well, I used to love playing that. It was always like during the summer, just going outside, hitting a ball. It was such amazing fun.
Yeah, it is. And you forget as well how much fun it actually is doing those kind of team sports.
You definitely do. Tell me more about hiking then. When did you start getting into walking and hiking?
So I only got into walking last year. So I was on the train going through the Peak District and I was just watching everybody get on and off the train to go hiking. And I just decided that I wanted to start hiking because I just thought, well, why not? It was like the beginning of the year, so it was kind of like going to be like a bit of a New Year's resolution. Do you know when you just decide that you're going to do something more productive and worthwhile with your free time? So I decided that actually I'm going to hike this year. And it was just kind of like a really random idea, and I didn't think that I would have been this consistent with it up until now. And neither does my mum. My mum's always like, are you still hiking?
So what was your first step though? Because a lot of people have those, they probably sat on a train as well, going past the Peak District or the Lake District and think, oh, it's so beautiful outside. I really should do more hiking. You have that thought. And then, 10 minutes later, something else happens and you never actually take that step. But you did take that step. So what did you do to go on your first hike? How did that come about?
So after I'd been on that train journey, I remember taking a video from the window and saying, I'm taking up hiking this year. And I posted it and tagged it BGH. And then a few days later, I was at home, my friend was round and I was like, I'm going to set up an Instagram for this hiking group. She was looking at me like, are you actually serious? And I was like, yeah, we're going to start hiking. This is what we're going to be doing. So I literally just set up an Instagram page and then started like posting pictures of like just outdoorsy stuff. And then I decided that I actually need to like plan a hike. So I went in I think it was the Manchester Evening News, and they have like something like the 5 best walks around Manchester. And I basically just found one of them and decided that this is the walk we're going to do. And that was it. I just kind of like advertised it as an event, really. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just kind of winging it.
What about your friends and family? So they all sounded a little bit like, really? You're going hiking? Were they sort of supportive? Were they coming on the walks with you?
One or two of my friends came on the first walks. Everybody else was like, Rhiane, it's England, it's cold, it might rain. What are you going to do if it rains? Are you going to be walking in the rain? And I was like, yeah, I'll get a waterproof jacket. And everyone was just like, whatever. Do you know when like you have an idea and everyone thinks that you're not going to follow through with it? So they're all just kind of like rolling their eyes at everything you talk about.
So what was it that you enjoyed about the walking, about the hiking? What did you what was the standout moments for you?
My main thing is just getting outside in nature, because I just really like looking at nice scenery. So I just love the views, really. And that's my main thing that I like about it. But also I love the community as well. So I know a lot of people like, because usually I'll go on the hikes by myself first to kind of like plan them, but I do actually prefer to be with people when I'm actually hiking, and that's the main thing that I like about it.
Tell us more about Black Girls Hike. Like, how has it evolved, like, since you started, like, the Instagram page?
So since I started the Instagram page, it's just gone a bit crazy, actually. So I've created the group as kind of like a safe space for Black women to go out hiking, because when you think about hiking, I usually just think about the ramblers, and they're like all like really old and really white, and the outdoors just does seem like a white domain. So that's why I set up Black Girls Hikes, just so that we can have the confidence to go out by ourselves together first, and then once you've kind of got that confidence and built up some skills, then you might feel like you can enter other spaces. So that's basically the reason for Black Girls Hike. And then since it started, like, I didn't know that so many people actually wanted to go hiking, but apparently they do. So we now have a London group and we've got a Midlands group. We've had a Midlands group since last year, but the London group just started this year, and that was insane. The first walk was like over 100 people turned up to the first walk. When I walked out the tube station and saw them, I was like, I just got this weird feeling. I don't know whether I was kind of like, I felt a bit nervous, like my hands were shaking when I first walked out of the tube station and saw everybody. But yeah, it has really taken off, and we've had like requests from all over the country really to start up there. So I think that it's kind of just put hiking on people's radar and just made them think that actually, yeah, it's maybe something that we could do as well.
Oh my God, absolutely. It just shows what a need there is for a group like this. Although I have to say, if I'd walked out of a tube station in London and suddenly there's like 100 people in front of me, to be taken on this walk, I mean, what was that like? I mean, take us back to that day, because that must have been a little bit of a shock.
So yeah, it was really overwhelming because I was running a little bit late. I had like this fiasco in the morning. So I was supposed to be there at 11:15 and I got there at like 2 minutes to 12. So when I walked out and saw everybody, I remember thinking, oop, because you know that we're in COVID at the moment and I think you can only meet up in groups of 30, and there was like 100 and something people. And I was like, oh no, people are going to be going mad about this. But also as well, I think I was just a bit like, overwhelmed because it's something that I created and I never thought that it would get as big as this. And I think it was just kind of like, it was a really emotional moment actually. Like I was just really proud.
Oh my God, absolutely. Like the feedback must have been amazing, because I always think it's about having, positive role models out there. If you can see people doing it, and especially people who look like you can think, well, hold on, she looks like me. Then if she's doing it, then why can't I do that? I mean, do you have many role models in hiking, in walking, in the outdoors, in nature who you look up to?
No.
No,
I don't think
yeah.
like no, that I wouldn't really say there's anyone that I really like look up to. There are some people that I do follow on Instagram. Like there's one girl called Adventurer Nick, and she's just like amazing. And one thing that I really want to get to is I've noticed that the people that are like really seasoned, experienced hikers on Instagram, they'll like post a picture and they can pick out all the different hills in the distance, and I just feel like these people are like experts. So they do share loads of like really good information, and they're always like they're really approachable as well, so you can always message them and get tips and stuff. So I wouldn't really say there's anyone that I really think is amazing, but there are a few people like Adventurer Nick, because I know that she ran some of her own meetups as well, that you do kind of like look up to a little bit.
So you do actually have a full-time job as well. So how do you find balancing having a full-time job with, building this amazing community?
Oh, I've not been balancing it very well at the moment. So basically, since Black Lives Matter happened, I've literally just been inundated. So every day I'm like inundated with like emails, messages. So I've been kind of like struggling to manage some of the admin side of it, just because we're getting so many opportunities coming our way. But also, it's just like I reduced my hours at work at the beginning of the year so I could spend more time on Black Girls Hike, because we're a small charity now, but we're going to be a non-profit soon. So we should be able to do like bigger projects than we're doing. So I work for the civil service, so I don't necessarily have like a really fulfilling job. So my group is actually what I really enjoy doing, and I'd like to make that full time.
Yeah. I was going to say, what is the dream for Black Girls Hike? Like, where do you envision, what's the big dream for it? Where do you envision it going?
So we're going to be a non-profit soon, and I would like us to basically just be getting more people outside. So I'd like us to start working with younger people, and kind of getting people involved in different activities. So I'd like to start getting people into maybe like paddleboarding, maybe some water sports, some climbing. We are getting people trained up at the moment in navigation, and we've just got some funding so that we can run lowland leader schemes. So all the regional leaders that we've only got two, but we'll have more soon. So they're all getting trained as lowland leaders, and then they'll be getting the first aid and stuff like that. So that's where we're going at the moment. It's just kind of like getting people skilled up, but also providing opportunities for them to explore more things and see if it's something that they would like to do. And then if it is, seeing how we can support them to go through that path.
That's amazing, especially like the upskilling and getting those qualifications. Is that something that you're looking, have you got those qualifications, or is that something that you're looking at getting as well?
So at the moment, I've just done my lowland leader training. So I'm in the consolidation period at the moment where you've got to go on like a certain amount of hikes, and then I need to do my first aid course, and then after that I can go and do my assessment. And then once I've done my assessment, then I'll be a lowland leader. We are hoping to get some people trained up as mountain leaders as well, but that's not something that I would necessarily like to do myself personally. Like I like running the group, but being a mountain leader just feels like so much responsibility, and I'm just not signing up for that.
Tell us more about the Lowland Leader course. How was that for you? Like, did you go away for a week to do a course? Like, how does that all work?
So it was a weekend course in Bolton. So where I live in Greater Manchester, we're actually right on the edge of like the West Pennines. So we've got like loads of moors and stuff that you can go walking on. So it was like a 2-day course, and it was basically all about like navigation, just reading your maps, a little bit of how to use a compass. I have been on a navigation course before, and one of the things that he said to me on the Lowland Leader training is I just need to be more confident with my map reading, because I can read a paper map, but I've also been using the OS Maps app, and it's just so much easier. So I think it was just more about, I think the main thing that I took from it was just mainly leadership skills, being a little bit more assertive, but also kind of like believing in my own abilities, because even though I'm leading the group, I'm not like a trained leader or anything. So I suppose I do need to actually, get additional skills in doing that. And it did give me a little bit more confidence.
Yeah. Tell us more about some of your favourite walks that you've gone on, but where do you end up going? Are there particular areas that you end up going back to?
So in Bolton, there's these two reservoirs called Entwistle Reservoir and Wyre Reservoir. And during lockdown, I spent loads of time like going to them. And like on the side of the reservoir, there's like these little like pebble bits. I call it the beach. because I was like, no one can go to the beach at the moment, so we're finding a local one. So that one, I've been on that walk probably about 10 times, because once the restrictions eased, I started going on one-on-one walks with the girls there. And then I did a small group hike there. So we've been there loads of times, but it's really beautiful. So I found this tree that's got a woodpecker in it, and I can hear the woodpecker, but I've never seen it. And then we also found some trees where some herons was nesting. And it's just really nice to, I think once you keep going somewhere, you notice different things all the time. And that's what I really liked about lockdown, where I was going on the local walks, but I was just taking more notice of things. So that's one of my favourite walks. It's not a massive trek or anything. It's just a walk around the reservoir, but that's been one of my favourite ones just because it's got so many memories. And Snowdon as well. So we did 17 of us climbed Snowdon last September. So it was called the Black Girls Hike Snowdon Challenge, and I got everybody a medal. And that was really exciting because that was like our first like weekender, because we stayed over in Wales, and it was the first mountain that most people had climbed. So I think that's one of my favourite memories, just because we had people come from all across the country to climb with us. Yeah, it was just a really nice like community for the weekend, like a little sisterhood. After we climbed Snowdon, we went to the beach, and then we went to this waterfall, and then we just had like a really nice evening together as well. That's been one of my favourites.
Oh my God, that sounds amazing. And how incredible to take, 17 women up Snowdon and to get a medal and to achieve that. How was the weather in September? What was that like?
So as I was walking up, it was like really low cloud. In fact, when I was walking back down, I thought I was lost because I didn't recognise anywhere because I hadn't seen it on the way up. But then when we got to the top, like the clouds did clear a little bit and we did get some really good views. But one of the things that I couldn't believe was how many people were there when we got to the top. We had to queue to get to the summit. And I just couldn't believe that there was this many people at the top of a mountain.
What do you think is the biggest challenge for getting out hiking, for going to climb mountains like Snowdonia?
I'd say I think the biggest challenge is kind of like, for some people, is probably access, because these places aren't accessible even by public transport. So I think that's one of the things, it's access. But it's also, I think that when you think of climbing mountains, you think of people that are like really athletic and really sporty and really fit. And it just seems a bit like an endurance. And I just think that a lot of people probably don't think that they've got it in them to climb a mountain. So I think it's confidence as well.
Yeah, 100%. Tales of a Hiker. Is that you, or is that something else linked in? What's Tales of a Hiker?
So Tales of a Hiker is my blog, and I set it up last year. And basically I set it up because I was thinking about creating more content for the Black Girls Hike page, and had this idea of doing like like a interview or like a hiker of the week and just getting like their tale. And then I was like, oh, why don't I just make it into a whole account where I just share everybody's story? And I really like Humans of New York.
Yes.
Absolutely love that. I love reading those stories on Facebook. It's like my favorite Facebook page. There's another one as well called How We Met that I absolutely love. But yeah, so it was kind of like supposed to be a bit like that. Yeah, so basically I set that up and started sharing people's stories, and then was like, because so many people wanted to come to Black Girls Hike, and then some of them are obviously not black, I was like, oh, why don't I just do another hiking group, and we'll just do a Tales of a Hiker meetup as well. So we've done 2 meetups from that so far. And they've both been really nice. We get like a real mix of people. It's been like a nice group size. We did the Malham Cove walk, which was lovely because I love Harry Potter, so I was really excited to go there. And then we did Cat Bells as well in the Lake District, that was amazing, but it was Storm. I think it was like Storm Sierra, and I had to bum shuffle down Cat Bells because we couldn't stand up because it was that windy. That was quite scary, actually.
That sounds very scary. So tell me more about some of the tales that you're sharing. Like, where do you get the stories from? How do you connect with the other hikers?
So what I do is basically like I'll follow people and I'll see people that I think are quite interesting, and then I'll message them and ask them if they'd like to be featured. And then I usually send them like how did you get into hiking? What's been your biggest challenge or achievement? And what advice would you give to other people? But I really like the bit about how you got into hiking, because it's always like, oh, I used to hike with my ex, and then when my ex broke up with me, I just needed to clear my head. I like those ones. And then there's the ones where like, oh, I was going through a really horrible breakup and just got divorced and I found solace in the mountains. I like those ones, the ones that are a bit juicy. I like a bit of drama.
I love it. What's been like the best piece of advice which has stood out from Tales of a Hiker?
So when I ask people like what advice would you give to other people, the main thing that they always say is find a community first. So find people that you can go hiking with, or people that you can, ask questions about it. Just having like that support system. I'd say that's like one of the best tips of advice, because everybody always just suggests that you go on an Insta meet if you want to take up hiking.
Have you ever done that?
I've been on an Insta meet up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have. So I went on, there's a woman called Becky the Traveller, and she does Insta meetups, and I went on one of hers last year, and then I met like two of my, I would say like they're my hiking besties actually. So I met two people on her group hike last year that I hike with all the time now. And last week I camped out with one of them because it was the Perseids meteor shower. So we went camping to see if we could watch that. And it's a really good way to connect with people.
Do you have a dream hike or some hikes that are on your wish list of places that you want to go?
Yeah. So in September, I was supposed to be going to Colombia for a month, but coronavirus doesn't want anyone to have fun this year, so I'm not going. But I was supposed to be doing the Ciudad Perdida trek, which is it's like a 4-day trek to like this lost civilization village kind of place. So you like trek through the jungle and you've got to like camp out and stay in hammocks. And then at the end of it, you get to like this, like a hidden, then lost villages.
Yeah.
So I was wanted to do that this year. I really want to go and hike the Blue Mountains in Jamaica, just because it's Jamaica and I'm part Jamaican, and I think that would be amazing. And they're the main ones at the moment. I don't really have like anything that I kind of really, really aspire to do, because I'm not like that kind of hiker where I want to smash loads of records and like climb the highest mountain. Like I literally just want to get just high enough to see like a really nice view. I'm not really into kind of like endurance kind of challenges.
How do you help to build confidence in other women who are coming out hiking for the first time? They maybe feel a little bit scared or a little bit intimidated. What would you say to them?
Well, first of all, I always let them know that I'm a beginner as well, because I think that once they know that I'm a beginner, then it kind of like puts them at ease, and then they don't feel like they're competing with anyone, or there's kind of like a set fitness level. So most of our hikes, most of the women that come on our hikes are really, really inexperienced anyway. So you just kind of have to kind of like support them more than anything and just be really encouraging. And everybody is really encouraging and really supportive. And I think that really helps people. Like I got a message yesterday off someone to say that I've really helped to boost her confidence. It's really helped to boost her confidence coming to Black Girls Hike. And she's also got more confidence to speak to people. And she used to struggle with that before.
Oh, God, that must be amazing. Yeah. I think that's sometimes what it's all about. Sorry, go on, carry on.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it is really nice to get that kind of feedback, because then you realise you actually are making a difference. So we've got a Facebook page and people leave like recommendations and things on there. But a few months ago, I got nominated for a National Diversity Award, and everybody writing a nomination. And then I could read through those nominations, and people were basically just saying how it's just given them so much more confidence and it's made them want to explore more. And it's like a whole new lease of life for them. That's really rewarding, because it's nice to think that you can have that impact on somebody.
Absolutely. And it's not just walking that you're doing. So you've also got a fundraiser out, a GoFundMe for Black Girls Hike Healing Retreats. Tell us a little bit more about that and how's that going?
So the fundraiser's going well. We're on over 4K at the moment. So the reason that I decided to do the healing retreats is because even though hiking's really good for your well-being, I think that people need to pay more attention to people's mental health as well, because I think that gets overlooked. And I think with the COVID and the whole Black Lives Matter resurgence this year, I just think that a lot of people are actually struggling from things like PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, because you experience racism so often and it just becomes part of your day-to-day routine, like your day-to-day life, you're used to it. But then when something like Black Lives Matter happens and you see, someone getting murdered in the States by the police, and it just kind of makes you think about all the other situations that you've been in where you've experienced racism, and it's just making you like recall loads of like terrible memories. And I just think that I found it really triggering. So I didn't go to any of the Black Lives Matter protests just because I found the whole period just like really like traumatic. So I think that the reason why I'm doing the healing retreats is because I want people to the idea is that we can kind of like pay for a counsellor to come so that they can do sessions with people on things like resilience and just to kind of focus more on people's mental health. So the retreats will be like, so we'll be doing outdoor activities, but we're also doing other therapeutic stuff. Like I want us to do forest bathing and I want us to do like some painting and stuff. But I think the main thing is just to talk, like to boost people's well-being and just give them coping mechanisms. Because also as well, during COVID, all they kept on telling you is that you're more likely to die, you're more likely to die. And hearing that every single day and knowing that the reason why you're more likely to die is because of racism, institutional racism, it's just really, it's quite difficult to deal with. So I just think that the retreats are a way for people to just kind of like reset, because it's been a difficult year.
How are you doing? Because there's been a lot going on, which is, affecting you so personally as well.
To be honest, I don't really know how I'm doing, because I think, like I was saying to my friend recently, you're just so used to stuff like this that it's kind of like it just becomes the norm. And so then when people say, how are you doing? You're like, I'm fine. But then you don't know whether you actually are really fine, because I think that you compartmentalize things a lot. So I was having a conversation with someone recently and they said to me, do you remember the first time you experienced racism? And I was like, no, because I think that that's a memory that I've kind of just locked away somewhere. And I think that's what you do when you deal with racism all the time. You kind of just kind of try and deal with it, but just kind of like forget it. And then I think every now and again, something will happen where it'll just like drag up all of those memories. So I've been struggling during this time, but one of the blessings is that I've not been in work for like the past 3 months. And that's really helped, because when you're in an office and there's just that little idle chit chat, and I just think that people can say really ignorant things without even realising, and they don't understand how triggering it is to other people. So I've been really fortunate that I've not been in work and had to listen to everybody else talk about Black Lives Matter, because I don't really think I could have handled listening to them and their opinions on it.
It's almost like microaggressions and death by like 1,000 cuts, like little small things which accumulate over time. But
Yeah.
well-being and mental health is so important, and I definitely feel, personally for me, like just nature, just being out in nature is just incredible to be able to do that. You mentioned forest bathing. Have you done that before?
No, I haven't done it yet, but I've read up about it and it just sounds really, really calming, because I think it's all about how you use your senses to experience nature. So I think you would like be barefoot, and a bit of it would be about your sense of touch and what you can smell and what you can hear. And yeah, just like using your senses to kind of like appreciate things more. And I think it sounds like it'd be really nice, because I do really like grounding. When you're outside and you're barefoot, I do really like that, because they say that you're reconnecting them with the earth, aren't you, when you do that.
I've literally just written that down as grounding, like, because I think that fits in with forest bathing. And also, this is going to sound really weird, but hugging trees.
Oh, I love hugging trees. I absolutely love hugging trees. Do you know what I did during lockdown? So on that reservoir that I kept on going to, there was this one massive tree there, and I just kept on hugging it. But also I was like, this is the only hug that I'm getting in lockdown, because I live on my own, so let's just hug a tree instead.
Rhiane, I'm going to mix things up a little bit now. I'm going to ask you some quick fire questions. My questions may be quick, but your answers don't have to be. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you a morning or evening type of person?
Morning.
What time does your alarm go off?
My body clock wakes me up at like 6 o'clock.
Do you get out of bed then?
No, I'll probably scroll on Instagram for about an hour.
What time do you go to bed?
Oh, it varies, to be honest, but any time between like 10 and 12. But it depends, because at the moment I'm like living in my bed. So because I'm working from home, I've bought like they told us to buy a desk, and I've bought one of them ones, that you get in hospital that goes over your bed.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty much living in my bed at the moment.
What about a morning routine? Do you have like a structure to your morning?
No, it's usually like I'll wake up early and then probably start annoying my neighbours with music at like 9, have a cup of tea. I don't really have a morning routine. I think I should get a better one, actually.
Now, you said tea, but are you more of a tea person or a coffee person?
I'm definitely a tea drinker. And this morning, I bought some milk from the shop yesterday, made my first cup of tea this morning. The milk was off. I literally marched to the shop with this milk. Like, So yeah, I'm a tea drinker. And you know what's really funny? When I go on holiday, I always take tea bags. But sometimes when you're on holiday and you meet people and they assume you're from America because you're black. And then one time I was on holiday last year in Morocco and I brought out my tea bags and this girl was like, "You must be from England."
Is there a particular brand of tea that you like?
Um, PG Tips or Tetley?
PG Tips or Tetley? And what about a movie? Do you have a favourite movie?
Anything with Denzel Washington in. So all Denzel Washington films are all my favourites because I absolutely love him. I think one of my favourite ones might be Man on Fire. Oh no, I tell a lie. Sister Act. Ew. And now I'm like, it's either Sister Act or something with Denzel Washington, but I absolutely love Sister Act. And Dolores Van Cartier is like my alter ego name, and that's the name I use online.
I love it. What about a book? Do you have a favourite book or a book that you're reading at the moment or one which has really inspired you?
So, the best book I ever read was called Confessions of an Economic Hitman. And it's basically written by this economist in America. And basically, what he used to do was he used to like work for American corporations and he'd like go into like developing countries and they'd basically like inflate their forecast and basically say to them, you know, if you invest this much in your infrastructure and all this kind of stuff. So then what they'll do is then these countries will get like loans from the World Bank. And then after they've got these loans from the World Bank, they're basically indebted to America. And it basically talks about, it kind of like explains how America has so much power in the world. And it's probably one of the best books I've ever read. And I've always recommended it to people. And you know when you're describing something and you're just not doing it justice, but it's an amazing, amazing book. And he also has another book out called The Jackal as well, which is all about like, yeah, basically like inflating economic forecast and to get people indebted. It's really, really interesting stuff.
What about music? Favourite type of music, favourite song, favourite genre?
Reggae. So reggae is my favourite genre. I absolutely love reggae. This year I was supposed to go to Reggae Festival in Germany, which got cancelled, but I did go there last year by myself and I had the most amazing time. I went for like 3 days, saw all my favourite artists, and just like the atmosphere was just like, you know, when you just love something, so like say you're just in the crowd and you're just in the moment and then you catch someone's eye and then they're loving it just as much as you are and then it's just so uplifting. Like, I love reggae. It's the soundtrack to my life.
Are you more of a beach person or mountain person?
I am more of a beach person, but we don't really have that option in England, so at the moment I'm doing mountains.
What about food? What's your favourite type of food to eat at home and what's your favourite type of food to eat while out in the hills?
My favourite type of food to eat at home is Caribbean food. Yeah, I just love all Caribbean food. And my favourite type of food to eat in the hills, I always take a boiled egg and a cheese sandwich.
I love it. I'm a fan of the boiled egg, definitely. What about rest and relaxation? What do you do to rest, relax, and recharge?
What do I do to rest, relax, and recharge? So I might go for a walk. I'm always listening to something. I've started trying to listen to audiobooks at the moment, but I'm struggling with them a bit because you have to pay too much attention to them. So I would say my favourite thing to recharge would be either to party, because I feel like that's recharging, or I don't know, just lazing around really. Just lazing around in my flat.
Are you a Netflix, Amazon Prime type of person?
Yeah, I'm finding Netflix too overwhelming at the moment, and I'm wishing that I was reading more books and taking in more intellectual content. But you know, sometimes you just want to watch crap.
I know exactly what you mean. What are the words that you try and live your life by?
What are the words I try and live my life by?
So whether you've got like a mantra or a quote or just, I don't know, like your vision or philosophy about how you want to live.
There's one quote that I always like, and it's "Don't live in the prison of other people's opinions." And I think that that's one of the things that that resonates with me when I went to uni so many times, because I went to uni 3 times and hated it. And I was like, why am I even doing this? And I think it was kind of more like peer and family pressure. But then really you should just stay in your own lane and follow your own path. But I know it's difficult in this like world that we live in, and everybody's kind of like has expectations of other people. But I just feel like you should just really try and focus on yourself and not pleasing other people.
I think that is hard to do as well, especially with peer pressure with friends and family. I think for me, it was when I finally got away from everybody, you know, when you go traveling somewhere and there's just nobody around you who knows who you are and you can just be who you are, which is actually so empowering. Now, Rhiane, where's the best place for people to find out more information about Tales of a Hiker and Black Girls Hike? Where should they go?
So Tales of a Hiker has a website, which is talesofahiker.com, and we're also on Instagram and Facebook as Tales of a Hiker. Black Girls Hike, you can find us on Instagram at BGH_UK. We're also now on Twitter at UKBGH, and we have a Facebook page as well, which is Black Girls Hike UK.
Fantastic. And Rhiane, I'm going to leave you with final words of advice, final words of wisdom for women out there who want to get hiking. What advice would you have for them?
Just find a community and just go out and do it. Like, you can start small and start local, but just put one foot in front of the other, and then you'll be doing distances.
Absolutely. Rhiane, thank you so much for coming on Tough Girl Podcast to share more about Black Girls Hike and Tales of a Hiker. It's been absolutely inspiring.
Thank you.
Hey Tribe, my name is Sarah Williams. I am the host of the Tough Girl Podcast and the founder of Tough Girl Challenges, which is all about motivating and inspiring you. Everything that we have talked about today with Rhiane will be available at toughgirlchallenges.com, so please do go and check out the show notes. Just want to share a little bit of information about the next podcast episode we have coming out. On the 15th of September, we're going to be speaking with Darcy Gacher. Her goal is to inspire people from all backgrounds and ages to find the courage to live the life they imagined for themselves. She's the first woman to kayak the Amazon River 4,300 miles from the source to the sea. She has been whitewater kayaking for 21 years, and for the past 15 years, she's been considered one of the world's best female kayakers and one of the most accomplished expedition kayakers. Darcy has won whitewater kayaking races throughout the world and has participated in and led kayaking expeditions in 18 different countries. In addition, she's been a kayak, raft and adventure travel guide for 2 decades and has owned and operated 2 kayak guiding businesses. She currently spends half the year in Ecuador running small world adventures and showing kayakers down some of her favourite rivers in the world. Darcy has long been a groundbreaker of women pushing the limits in both kayaking and outdoor pursuits. Leading by example of what women can accomplish in a predominantly male sport, she has inspired other women athletes to push themselves to achieve extraordinary things. So, new episode of the Tough Girl Podcast go live every Tuesday at 7 a.m. UK time. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out. Darcy's going to share more about what her life was like growing up when she spent more time in the mountains and outdoors. She's going to share more about how she got into kayaking and why heading to Nepal at 19 changed the direction of her life. She's going to share more about how the idea came to kayak the Amazon River, 4,300 miles done over 148 days. She's going to talk about the logistics of the challenge, dealing with the naysayers, balancing the risks, getting determined, and what it was like being the only woman on the team, what the magical moments were like, and what the challenges were that they faced. Darcy has written a book about this challenge and she shares more about that process as well. So that episode is coming out on the 15th of September. A massive thank you to all the patrons and supporters of the Tough Girl Podcast. If you want to support the mission to increase the amount of female role models in the media, please visit Patreon, patreon.com/Tough Girl Podcast.